A curse blessings to war!
Welcome to my Bloodborne 2 review. Elden Ring is the best Fromsoftware game ever made. The promise of all of their earlier efforts realized in a singular, dark, dense, outlandish open-world horror fantasy creepshow. All of the best aspects of those games, from the patently absurd characters, a story told through cryptic, mercurial riddles, the bizarre, unbending, freakish forms that the world and its avatars take on, and of course, the unnerving, pressurized combat situations, now considered almost a trademark of the action RPG genre itself, unfold and blossom into a towering epic, a magnificent frontier of violence and discovery, sprung out from the free association between two of the most creative minds in fiction writing today, Miyazaki and Martin. Elden Ring is every bit as great as we thought it would be, a game that is both an evolution and a consolidation of the design principles set forth by its spiritual predecessors. It's Fromsoftware at their highest form, a blueprint for open-world design, a bloodshed moment for those with an appetite for the far-out, nonsensical, and nightmarish tropes of fantasy frights. Ever since Awakening in the Hunter's Dream, there has been a yearning, a clamor for a sequel to Yharnam. Elden Ring is the closest thing to an answer to the call from Bloodborne 2, a realization of imagination and potential that is in and of itself an even greater achievement, a better gift than that mere wish fulfillment of a second act, because more than being simply a reenactment of the strange spooks, the dark, dreary aesthetics of Lovecraftian lore, it is an expansion on those themes of haunting visuals, malevolent mysteries, the nature of uncovering the unpredictable molded into a behemoth of an open world, with more interesting characters, an enhancement of combat mechanics, and a general, broader scope of role-playing elements. Rolling is met with blocking, parrying, jumping, platforming, horse jousting, flame-throwing, spellcasting, summoning, spinning pot maneuvers, incantations, and more. Elden Ring's gameplay mechanics are ripe, with a plethora of different weapons, potions, and magic abilities to collect and choose from, allowing for a fair few build varieties and experiments to test out on the game's reported 74 unique bosses. There are big weapons and small weapons, and each with a unique trait or skill that sets them apart from the other, and there are more than enough armaments that scale to each potential class's focus. There are ashes of war that add power-ups to swords and shields, talismans that buff your stats, each presenting different trade-offs and attributes and abilities. A really interesting NPC blacksmith that can give you a tune-up as you grind for smithing stones and runes to reinforce your gear. Item crafting for limited use attacks or nullifying status effects. Armor sets that sometimes scale up your stat categories a few points, but really are only mainly there just to look cool. There's crazy, stupid sorcery shit that's kind of broken at the moment, and dozens of AI summons that can be cast using magic and upgraded to help you micromanage select encounters, especially when you come across a nagging set of double bosses that is kind of unfair. I think they're probably designed for these in mind, but of course, if that makes the game too easy, you can always avoid using them. Or, if you're still struggling with a hard boss, or you just want to traverse the fog for the fun of it with a friend, there's co-op and the Return of Invasions, PvP mode where you get to assert your dominance over the other Tarnished, steal their runes in victory, and celebrate with a teabag and a good laugh. It's a great way to keep the community alive and see what other players are up to and how they tackle the wide range of playstyles available. All in all, Elden Ring's arsenal is one of the most expansive combat systems in the history of the genre, offering vast accessibility, variety, and replayability after you've made sure to search every nook and cranny for all this stuff to collect. There's no shortage of open-world games that offer a lot to see, but it's often just decor, a drawn curtain and an empty stage. In Elden Ring, there's almost always something behind the curtain. What you see is what you get. Elden Ring is like a painting, but a painting that obscures a hole in a wall, that leads to a tunnel, that leads to a cave, that leads to a portal that takes you to a whole other dimension that is completely foreign from what came before it. I don't think any game has ever beckoned me to investigate its world while instilling such patience and confidence and anticipation of the surprises ahead than Elden Ring did. With the sheer magnitude of exploration, size, and scope, this game invites you on a journey of discovery that is just as fresh from the first destination to the last, in whichever order you proceed, undertaking conquest of the lands between and the startling secrets they share within. Behold the inventiveness of the stages, the oblique quality of wayfinding the many houses of horrors, with the jarring mesh of landscapes, structures, and their interiors, their backdrops presented with diverse colors, sounds, shapes, a contrast of environments. One moment you walk into harmony, the next into hell. In a single first playthrough, I spent 180 hours frolicking through the lands between, looking forward to what would be hidden on the horizon or just beneath the surface, waiting to be excavated, and taking care not to miss anything. I didn't feel the need to rush ahead for fear of falling behind or that the adventure was dragging on. The game's progression is organic, non-linear, as you can traverse at your own pace and backtrack only when you feel the need to return to complete an activity or to challenge a boss that might have been too imposing beforehand. The quest lines are cohesive and impactful, with characters that involve us in their problems and contribute information that makes the world and its story take shape and have meaning. The levels are atmospheric, each one artfully embroidered with their own unique signature, a wild, offbeat conceptualization of horror escapism. The irregularities of their layouts force you to use intuition to navigate them, making uncharted territories feel like you're standing on the edge of another planet. Your map is little more than a compass, never directing you where to go or showing you exactly how to get there. Filling it out is a work in progress, stitched together piece by piece, almost like patchwork. This way, you get the sense to fully explore each sector in its entirety before moving on to the next, wondering how they can outdo what you've just witnessed. Over time, you can see how huge the full picture is, how extensive the empty ocean is, almost dwarfing the biomes of the mainland that don't quite reach from corner to corner. And you would think that the game is deceiving you with its size until you make it up north to the plateau, the mountains, the volcano, the halic tree, and all the various caves, catacombs, and otherworldly environments you travel to underground, and you start to pile up map markers in all directions. Count all the unnamed locations. There are more than enough. None of them seem to exist without purpose, without offering good reward for checking them out. It always helps to see what's there, because the design, the rewards lurking, scarcely cease to amaze. Elden Ring's open world is its crowning achievement, setting a new benchmark for open world design and exploration, packing so much unique content per square mileage like few open worlds before it. It's one you can only experience for the first time once, but one you probably won't forget. In a world that's so strange and full of contortions in the story, the remarkable characters that make up Elden Ring are so relatable because they offer us human perspective. There's Patches, the fan-favorite con artist who says and does stupid things, getting under our skin, literally stabbing us in the back at times. But he's likable because he's just so comfortable being himself. And it feels like he deserves at least one scene in every FromSoft game where he earns a moment all to his own. There's the hilarious, ridiculous Alexander the Great Warrior Jar, who makes unexpected appearances at the most random places with perfect common timing. His hope and dream is to be a great warrior, and though he doesn't quite live up to his own standard, we can call him a worthwhile companion. We make instant friends with him for his quirks, his wit, his valor, and his assistance in some of the game's biggest battles.
Oh, I found him! He's here! He's real! God!
Ah, this is sad. I killed him. God! At this exact moment, I wrote in the group chat that this was a 10 out of 10. There's Hugh the blacksmith and his apprentice Rodrika, two omnipresent forces throughout the game that give us important services and fill in the gaps between with their sad backstories. These are characters we care about because they involve us in their journeys, such as how we introduce them to each other and get them working on the same team. You can't help but feel sorry for both of them, even though neither of them asks for your pity. Things could have been different for them, and they might not be there at the round table hold, but we needed them there, and we sure are glad to have them working with us. Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing, a stern but wise father figure who goes from being cold and distant to warm and championing us to get the crown. Through his exposition dumps, we learn almost as much as him about what's really going on in the lands between. He's a character we want to impress as much as he impresses us. He has his Gehrman moment, and it's sad because he ends up being not our enemy, but our friend. You have the discreet charm of Ronnie the Witch and her loyal servants, Iji the gentle stone giant, and Blythe the wolfman, who extend their generosity to us, and the arrogant, sly preceptor Celebus, who turns people into puppets and talks like he's from the 18th century. Well, come to think of it, just about everybody does. Even the game's antagonists have me getting emotional when I think about Melania, the warrior who has never known defeat, and her extravagant boss battle, and her tragic history that ties in with her daughter Millicent's questline. The NPC characters in Elden Ring and their quests are always intriguing and satisfying to see their conclusion, rewarding us not only with special items, but fond memories. I have an entire video dedicated to what we know and don't know about Elden Ring's lore, and there's still some uncertainty, there usually is with these games. But I was very impressed at how deep the rabbit hole goes in this game and how thoughtful the clues are, both the kind that seem to always be deliberately placed in front of us, and the ones that are hidden beneath item descriptions or extra dialogue cues. I felt like a detective working with pieces carved out of a jigsaw puzzle, trying to decipher the codes and put together a framework of what it all meant. Are the ramblings from NPCs, each of them necessarily unreliable narrators, simply incoherent red herrings? Or is there a deeper meaning, a real significance behind their maddening speeches and the silent deeds that don't go unpunished? Should we simply dispatch them and cast them aside, or should we afterwards re-examine their plights, looking for ways to empathize with how they got to where they are? There are elements that are familiar, with clear parallels to mythology and the overt Game of Thrones references, but there's a part of the process that does feel like an investigation, one that certainly piqued my interest and will continue to. Sinister.
There's something else. But the death yet quenches. Bring more.
Creepy. Crazy ass. That's reviling, terrifying, batshit repulsions, nightmare fuel, so weird it's funny. These are the adjectives that come to my mind when reflecting on the monstrous manifestations from the mind of Fromsoftware. Elden Ring somehow outdoes Bloodbrone as one of the most truly shocking and fascinating horror media of all time. At times, its scares are slow and subdued, like the cooling magma oozing through the cracks of Volcano Manor, or faster still, like the perpetual spin of the massive tornadoes in the black and white paradise crumbling Farum Azula. Sometimes the scares are simple, almost relaxing auditory cues like the chilling soundtrack of Caelid against the blood-red tinged sky, or the soft sounds reminiscent of the void of space in the Eternal City. But there are genuine panic-inducing moments, like the gauntlets of the hero catacombs, where the stalking, wagging wheel of death puts most medieval torture devices to shame. The idle threats and manic ravings of the Dung Eater, or the ambiguity of the Gold Mask staring into the abyss. Unlocking the door to the frenzied flame and the accompanying shriek at the end of the game. The multicolored gumball-looking natural born of the void. Moog and his bloody emergence from the cocoon. the inevitable metamorphosis of the beast clergyman into Malekith the Black Blade.
Yes! I fucking killed him. Fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, bitch!
It's not so much what Elden Ring does, through disturbing moments of images and bizarre dialogue, but the questions that those incidents bring that don't have answers. What doesn't kill you makes you stranger. Stylistically and tonally, Elden Ring is one of the great horror trips we've yet to experience in a video game or otherwise, and I really like it. It's so difficult for a project of this caliber with ambition and expectations to realize the hype it generated. And at the moment of writing this review, this game has already sold 12 million copies worldwide in its first 3 weeks. Well deserved. But yes, Elden Ring is that great. I'm glad to say it. Elden Ring is a masterpiece, a 10 out of 10. An unforgettable, earth-shattering experience. Phenomenal, extraordinary, next-level art. The first such game of the new console generation. A rare lock for Game of the Year, and a great measuring stick for future open-world games to improve upon. But once again, the master Miyazaki shows us that some excellent achievements go beyond formula. Elden Ring is an awesome experience, a promise kept for all of us.
Bye now. Take care.